Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Digital Exchange. And today I want to spend some time on a topic that comes up a lot, especially for responsible Microsoft inside your organization. And the topic is around how we're managing Microsoft licensing. Now, when this conversation comes up, it usually gets framed a certain way. People talk about optimization, they talk about cost control, and I hear a lot of talk about subscription management. And those are all valid. But if you look at how this actually plays out inside most organizations, especially when they get into real decision-making moments, it still feels unclear. Renewals feel harder than they should be. Budget conversation, they take more effort than we actually expected to. Decisions around who gets what or what to change, they're just not always straightforward. And this is happening in environments where the IT teams are strong. Most relationships, Microsoft relationships are in place, and the data technically exists. The question becomes on my side is, why does it still feel this way? And what I want to walk through today is a different way to look at that, because I don't think it's just a licensing problem. I think it's more clarity. It's clarity that supports decisions. And once you start looking at it through that lens, a lot of what feels complicated starts to actually make more sense. Most environments today, I really feel, have a lot of data. You can go out there, you can pull license reports, you can pull usage metrics, you can pull activity logs. I think there's no shortage of information, but having data isn't the same as having clarity. Clarity is understanding what matters, knowing what to act on, and being confident in the decisions that you make. That's what clarity is. And that's where things tend to fall apart, because the data is often fragmented in most companies. It's always difficult to interpret, and I found that the data is disconnected from the business context. What are you really trying to do? What's your milestone? What's your goals? So you end up with information, but it's not necessarily good insight. If you look at where decisions actually happen, they're really not happening in reports. Even though we spend a lot of time trying to generate these things, they're happening in conversations. It's in your renewal conversations. It's in your budget reviews. It's in those meetings that you have with leadership. And it's in those moments, you don't need more data. But what you do need is clear answers. Need to answer questions like, what should we change? What should we keep? And even more importantly, what should we invest in? And if that clarity isn't there, what normally happens, your decisions slow down, or you default to the safest option. I think this is something most teams will recognize. When there just isn't enough clarity, you tend to stay close to what you already have. You renew similar quantities. You avoid large adjustments. You delay decisions that feel uncertain to you. It's not a bad approach. It's just risk management. But you know what? Over time, this will lead to inefficiency, because you're optimizing for stability, not necessarily for alignment. And there's been a big push towards a lot of dashboards and reporting. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they don't have their place. I'm not saying that they're not useful. Do they give you visibility? They don't always translate into decisions. They don't always give you the answers, or even poke you the right way to go towards the right questions, because they just show you what's happening, not always what to do next. And that to me, I feel, is the biggest gap we have. You can see trends, but still not feel confident in making a change. The organization ends up with better information, but the same decision challenges, even with all that information they have in front of them. And another layer to this, this is that decisions aren't one size fits all. Not one decision and everybody can use that one decision. It's different roles in an organization care about different things. Your CIO is concerned about control, governance, alignment. Your CFO is about cost, predictability. COO is productivity, operational impact. Even if the data is clear, it still needs to be interpreted differently depending on who's involved in the conversation. And if that translation doesn't happen, you know what happens? You end up with a lot of misalignment. And it's not because the data is wrong, but because it's not framed in a way that supports each perspective that you need to cater to. When organizations start to get this right, the biggest shift you'll ever see is confidence. Your decisions feel more intentional. You just feel like you're not guessing anymore. You're not defaulting to your safest options, and you're not just rushing, especially around renewal time, where a lot of things get hectic. Instead, you have a better chance of understanding your environment more clearly. You make more small adjustments over the year, and you'll now align decisions across IT as well as in finance to make sure those things align. And the prior process becomes more predictable for a company. And it's not just because things are simpler, it's because they're better understood. When I think about this overall, I don't see it as a tooling issue or even a resource issue. Most organizations have capable teams and truthfully have access to the right information. The gap truly is in how that information translates into decisions. That's where things either work or they don't. And I think that's why this continues to feel harder than it should, because the problem isn't obvious. To a lot of people that's in it, it looks like it's a licensing thing or it's a cost thing, or you know what? It's reporting. You need more of that. But really, underneath it, it really falls back to clarity. It's clarity. It's clarity that supports confidence and align your decisions. It's clarity. And once that's in place, everything else tends to fall right into line. The conversation gets easier, the decisions get faster. The outcomes you want become a lot more predictable for your organization. You know what? It'd be real interesting to hear how others are approaching this. Do you feel like you have enough clarity, make decisions confidently in your organization? Or is this still something that takes more effort than it should? Let me know. I'm interested in bringing someone on to talk through how they're actually making these decisions day to day, because that's what really the show is about, is it getting those other views and other opinions on these challenges and how we're approaching them. Thank you very much. I appreciate you listening on the Digital Exchange.